All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for Rakugo, Season 1, Episode 1.
After years of struggle and toil.
Yes, the true shonen protagonist rises
Indeed.
amidst the ashes of many a pull.
Mm-hmm.
And the...
ascends to its rightful place in the schedule.
The show that would never be reacted to is finally going to be reacted to.
And plugged away for a long time. I think I can.
And shout out to those of you in our Discord that pushed and pushed and pushed.
Chilled.
For as long as you could retain your semblance of sanity. Like it was
and even
it was
beyond.
a noble effort. Yes. Yeah. And here we are.
Mm-hmm.
Here we are.
Yeah.
Anytime we start a new show, it's a fun new adventure. Learning characters' names and all that, and figuring out where things are. But this show is going to be unique. The premiere episode is a double length. Yeah.
Double prizes.
Yeah. So that's a bit crazy. Like that is a bit nuts.
Yeah, just a little bit. As for what I'm personally expecting, I've heard that it's an amazing drama, and it's got Rakugo in the name, so I'm guessing it has to do with Rakugo, which from what I know of it is like some kind of like storytelling thing.
Yeah.
But
something like that. Yeah. But y'all, let's go on this adventure into a new show. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, and then come back here for the discussion. All right. That's our premise established.
Yep.
A main cast.
Uh-huh.
A small main cast for starters.
Right, which is helpful.
But they already have one of the main cast being kind of presented as main cast, and yet he's dead. Passed away. There's a very curious mystery set up surrounding Yakumo, the old master, and him being this enigmatic relic of a bygone age, with Rakugo being this beautiful medium of artistic expression of storytelling, and
that's
yet
just not surviving the modern era.
It's just passing away as being time. And then you have this young one here in Yotaro, who I guess that I'm not sure if that's actually his full name or if that's the nickname for fool or what have you, but the idea that he loves Rakugo. He's passionate about Rakugo, and we still don't know exactly what his reasons are for that.
Right. Well,
because he's the young one who remember the old parole officer guy, or the officer who was like, "Oh, Sonny, you like Shinigami?
Yeah.
Oh, most young people don't know even the catchphrase for the prayer that they say in the beginning of the intro."
Right.
You know?
And they even meta brought that up in a way, during one of the Rakugo performances of it, just like, what were the exact words used? Like, it just caught hold of me, or it caught hold of me on a whim, or something like that.
Spur of the moment.
Yeah, spur of the moment. Yes. And yep. But hey, that was something he was able to latch onto while he was in prison, and now it's past the first couple tests of whether he'll stick with it. Right?
Yeah, he had the experience with Yakumo coming and sharing the story in prison, but I'm talking about why did he latch so hard onto it? Like what was the thing that like went beyond just not just what it was, but what resonated within him? Like what was because he talks about it, how everyone else was scared white as a sheet hearing Yakumo share his story of the Shinigami, and how he whisks away the life of the person after they make the deal. But he was like laughing at it. Like he had a unique experience with it. He had something different, and I feel like they're saving that for later as to what they'll get into, what his backstory is beyond just the he was involved with
right, and there's this boss guy that tries to get him back into things and stuff. And the fact that they when they introduced the whole idea of he just got out of prison, right, and he's wanting to start turn a new leaf, go in a different direction. Cool, awesome, great. I figured that, his old life coming knocking would be a plot point. I didn't think it would be a plot point that would be introduced and potentially resolved in the very first episode. Now,
I think it is resolved for the most part.
Yeah, like they could bring it up again later, but they really don't have to.
Yeah, they don't.
Like, and then and that wasn't where the episode ended. No. That like they could have. That would have been a good story introduction to everything.
It's a double feature though. So,
but it's a double feature, so why not? Let's go the extra mile. And oh boy. Snoring loudly enough at a live show that it gets picked up on the mic at the new big venue that is sold out for this dying, art form, by the person who's apparently keeping it alive himself.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, I like though that by bringing up that the medium is dying right now, early on, there's a grander purpose to what the characters are doing beyond just their immediate desires.
Right, it's not just a profession or a passion. They're
preserving an endangered species of artists, basically. Right. And while when I look at it with a critical eye, it doesn't seem that replaceable, if that makes sense, because it's something that is singular. It's something where you have individual artists that will express, probably there's a library out there of specific Rakugo performances that everyone has access to. But the idea is that you go to follow your specific Rakugo artist, that you love the way they perform. You love the way their voice sounds. You love the mannerisms that they do. In movies, television, and all that, the only thing you're getting is that your imagination gets pulled less, because you're not having to fill in the gaps of what they're visually trying to explain to you with their mannerisms. So in some ways it might just be that the marketing or the distribution, because I'm thinking about this from a business perspective, is not finding a way to get it out there to as many people as possible, so that the ones that don't even know it exists could get the opportunity to consume that form of media.
I could also see it being a thing where, because well, we did see Yakumo writing, and it seemed like if he's writing, then I'm guessing he's writing a new story. If you have a bunch of people all performing the same lists of stories, okay, these are the classics kind of a thing, then you could have it be harder to differentiate. And also in this day and age, you could just as easily, because it's almost all voice, like there is some, there's the expressions and things like that, but I could theoretically see it be something where it's just you just listen to it, and the live experience is kind of dead, and then it's not economically sustainable because it's not bringing in very much money.
See, I think that it's more of a cultural issue. I'm guessing it's going to end up being an issue of where it's distribution. The things that they're specifically having issues with is that they don't have a method to distribute beyond the country of Japan itself, so that...
Oh, because there's no interest outside the country kind of a thing?
No, they're just not trying.
Okay.
Right. Like obviously there's no interest, but you have to build... That's what marketing is all about.
Right, and you need money to have the infrastructure to do that.
Right, but this is at the twilight of an industry specifically where there's no money, no new money probably coming in at all.
Yep.
So he's basically just doing live performances. But I think it reveals something interesting about Yakumo in that they said, he never takes on apprentices. He never does this. Immediately takes on an apprentice in the first episode. Makes him make promises to him, holds him to a really high standard, probably something that he was held to when he was younger, but also makes him make these promises at the end of the episode talking about the future of Rakugo, making him sound a lot more, I would say, vulnerable, relatable, and more desperate regarding not only his future, but the future of this industry, this this artistic medium.
Yep.
So, interesting start to a show. I feel like I understand all the characters rather well in the direction that they're going to go, except for Yakumo. I feel like Yotaro's thing is more along the lines of going back a little bit. Like I can see where he'll go, but in terms of going and adding some context
to how he got here,
that would be nice. Konatsu, I really like her emotional journey that they took on in just this episode, but also that we can extrapolate out of where she's been, based on Sukeroku and Yakumo's past as being fellow students of a single master, and that they were both trained by the same person, but ended up creating very different forms of Rakugo. And something unfortunate, some accident led to Sukeroku dying. And while she accuses him, that's probably her projecting her pain out onto the individual that was even probably closer to Sukeroku than she was, which is probably why she's so
potentially
bitter.
What I'm really curious to see is where there's the journeys that each of them will take with Rakugo, and then there's the journeys that each of them will go on as individuals and their emotional growth and development and things like that.
Yep.
And I feel like the Rakugo journeys are fairly straightforward as far as Yotaro and Konatsu go. For Yakumo, I mean, he's already got the Rakugo thing going just fine, so there's not really probably any development that's going to happen there other than with him teaching. And
well, he said he doesn't like to teach, though.
Right. Yeah.
So that's development then. That's something that...
Yes. And I feel like his emotional journey is going to be, in some ways, maybe not the best, because how could you compare, right? But it's going to be, I don't know, deeper. I don't know, because he clearly has a lot of history with, say, Sukeroku and even Konatsu, right? And there's a reason why he is in this stubborn place, right? And he's already started to grow and move out of that stubborn place. But in the same way that Konatsu has a reason that she's here, and Yotaro has a reason that he's here, I'm really excited to see what his journey has been, and then based on that, how he's going to adapt and what he's going to choose as far as the journey that's presented before him with Yotaro.
Okay, gotcha. With the show basically giving us a fun look at what the appeal is of Rakugo, I can see why a lot of you are very interested in us giving our kind of look on this show, because this is the kind of medium with regards to storytelling that I would say I would naturally be drawn to in the same way that Yotaro is. It's weird to say, but once I got kind of the initial impression of, oh, this is a stage performance, I was like, oh, so this is just dramatic acting? Is this like, is this more of some kind of, dance? Is this some kind of movement-based thing? How much of this is spoken word versus how much of this is improv? Like written, kind of scripted stuff. And now we know that it's effectively a mostly like 99.9% scripted, specific kind of
like one-man play, basically.
Dramatic one-man play.
Yeah.
But the idea is that the plays themselves are publicly known unless it's literally a new work.
Right.
But that is not common. And that means that just, I would say, that reemphasizes the whole this thing is in its era of twilight. It's moving out. And they even talked about an era prior to this, which was the post-war golden era of Rakugo or something like that. Probably where there was a lot of pain, there was a lot of sorrow, a lot of grief, a lot of processing that the people of the country were happening after the war. So the Rakugo-centered kind of thing helped a lot of people who needed something to latch onto as being a method to process all that emotion they were dealing with, but also to see someone on stage who probably drew a lot of inspiration from reality for these stories that they would create, which we did see kind of in Yotaro's presentation of the thief comedy story. What was it called? I don't remember what the name of it was called, but that was a cool example of where a lot of it was, you could see parts of Yotaro's story in there.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's like, wait a minute. So I'm not 100% sure that these are totally unscripted. Like, you remember when people started laughing, right? This might be just a subtle thing. But what if part of the reason why they were laughing was because he took little liberties with the script? Like, he obviously memorized the whole thing, right? Because that's why he was able to keep the punchlines and the specific beats going there. But he had little mannerisms or little things that he would do that aren't in the script, but they're not off script either. So they would laugh at them because they're like, oh, that was a good one. That was a little added fun flair there, you know?
Right, because with what little experience I have of reading off a script and seeing other people read off scripts and stuff, you'll have completely different stories be told just based on the emotional inflections and what they bring to the table for the context and whatnot for the specific things that they're saying, right?
Makes sense.
Because if you just had the words, then you have like, one of those like speech programs that just, says out the words, for like an answering machine or something, right? But when you have someone look at, a set of dialogue and they decide what the reasons for that dialogue are, it takes on a whole life of its own.
For sure.
And in the case of Yotaro, he brought his own unique flair to it. Like that Yakumo probably wouldn't have been able to do. Now Yakumo probably would have done a better performance, right? But it would have been different, right? It wouldn't have been the exact same, just better.
Yeah.
It would have been different. Yeah. And that's where something like this I could see being able to stand the test of time as long as it has, even if it's in its top twilight stage, because it's a very seems like a very steeped in tradition kind of a thing, but because of all the differences that you could get from just how someone says words, I could really see people being like, oh yeah, this person's performance of of this classic work, that's good, but I really like how this person does it, right? Because they bring more life, energy, comedy, whatever. Whereas maybe this other person makes me cry every time I hear it or something like that.
I also wonder if the whole Rakugo performance and how they each kind of act out what they're doing here brings a kind of thing where you want to hear not them do the same one over and over again, but you want to search for the Rakugo performer that can do your favorite play the best.
Sure.
So an example would be in this medium of reaction channels. You'll sometimes, I'm serious, you'll want to see which, group of people or person or what have you out there is really good at that favorite show of yours. So I see a lot of expression. No, I see a lot of beauty in the expression of what this medium can do. So I almost feel like this is going to be one of those shows where it's about the drama between the characters, right?
Well, yeah.
But we'll end up actually learning things about how to express storytelling in a literal, in a literal way.
Yeah.
Like the kind of thing where we would go to our One Piece streams and actually have little bits of extra knowledge because of this show.
If they go into okay, so when you're performing, right? This is the you say it like this, but you're really, you're putting too much energy into it, as opposed to like, so it feels forced or something, as opposed to just speaking it as if you were speaking it yourself.
Right.
One of the things that I find kind of funny about how they set this up, and this is a classic conflict to have, but you have something that is artistic, right? That they're doing. So that's centered around, the emotions and just everyone bringing their own individual spin to the table, right? And yet it's so steeped in tradition and with Yakumo being like, the old master, right? He's the best, right? And he has his own way of doing things and everything, and he is resistant to these two young bucks that are with him, right? That very much have passion and all of that stuff. And the thing is that in any kind of, thing like this, you need both passion and, experience, expertise, the technical skills in order to turn the raw passion into something that is presentable, right? Order to the chaos kind of a thing. And oftentimes that'll be done in a kind of coming of age story where it's the old teacher that needs to learn from the new students, but also teach the new students because they don't know what they're doing, right?
Right.
And now that he seems to have become a lot more inviting to the idea of teaching them, we'll have to see where that goes as far as, their journeys, both as, teacher and student, but then also with regards to Rakugo and themselves. And I like that dynamic.
Yeah. Yeah. Yakumo isn't a simple character either.
No.
I thought he was going to be probably a little bit more of a caricature.
Yeah.
And they kind of brought that up, and that, you shouldn't do that one. That one's a caricature as far as things go. And then he absolutely kills it. He does a very good job. Wait, was that one about Shinigami, or was that one about the thief?
That was the thief one, I think.
Yeah. And then he absolutely kills it. Yeah, he does a fantastic job. He has everyone laughing. Yakumo has this dramatic introduction via our main character coming in and just having this like, yeah, I'm a fanboy and I'm a loud, squawky, not black-haired protagonist. Like it's like, all right, I get it. Yeah, you're supposed to be kind of the relatable loud boy that forces the other characters to exposit. Cool. All right. Yakumo, I was worried would end up being kind of because he takes him on as his apprentice so quickly, kind of the one that would cater too much to this guy.
Right.
And instead, we get in the first episode, he's already expelling him.
Right.
Which obviously he's not going to do. But he basically put the burden of action onto this blabbermouth kid. Because in some ways I think he believed in him that he would be able to do it. And also he was emotionally reacting because of the stress of the thing that happened. So when Yakumo reacts so strongly back to these people who say things that or do things that are maybe a bit insensitive or maybe a bit ignorant, like with Konatsu, he responds back with not venom, because venom implies hatred. He responds back with bite.
Right.
With kind of a, hey, that's a sensitive spot for me. Don't you dare just spout things without thinking regarding an area that you don't have any knowledge about. He seems like the kind of person who could be the Naruhodo, kind of character, but instead he's, no, I'm actually the old one who's been through a lot, and I have a very tough constitution because I've been through a lot, but it doesn't take much to hit me and get hurt.
The idea that
my AC is low.
Right. In a story that is, I'm assuming from what we've seen so far, going to focus very heavily on the mentor-student dynamic between the characters, right? It would be an absolute tragedy to have the mentor not be as flawed as they are here.
Yes.
Because I mean, we've seen mentor stories. Like, we've seen,
yeah.
or at least, sub-stories within a story, right? Mm-hmm. Hero's journey, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And because we're so familiar with it, it can get stale pretty quickly, right? One of the ways that you can keep it fresh is where the mentor is also learning, right? Mm-hmm. And clearly, he has a lot to learn. Like, I would almost say he's one of the most flawed characters that we've seen thus far. Because, like, as far as like the flaws for, say, Yotaro, they're pretty straightforward. They're easy to spot and easier to address because they're brought out into the light, very quickly.
That's his strength, is that he brings all his flaws out very quickly and easily. Yeah. So we don't have to do much searching on that.
Exactly.
Regard.
Whereas with Yakumo, he doesn't. And in fact, he's probably spent a lot of time and a lot of energy making sure that, these are things that he doesn't necessarily have to deal with. That they don't show themselves often, that they don't rear their ugly heads, right?
Yep.
But that doesn't mean they're not there. Yeah. And because of, maybe because of how Yotaro is so bombastic, it causes them to be revealed rather quickly.
Right.
And there you go. That way we have character arcs for each of them, but also character arcs in parallel.
I just want to go out there and make a really wacky prediction, Jacob.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna be Sukeroku, and you're gonna be Yakumo. I mean, in terms of what they've got as a dynamic here, the idea that they were both kind of brothers in kind of arms, and they go after this artistic medium that's unique and it's specific. And they bring a lot of their energy into it.
Because I would say the exact opposite.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, there are times... Well, the thing is, we're each both of them, depending on the time.
Sure,
right?
Sure.
Depending on the time, depending on the place, the circumstances. I personally think that I'm Sukeroku more often than Yakumo. But that's probably just the perspective, because we remember more of the times when it's like, the other person's more of the traditionalist and we're the full of energy, excitement kind of a thing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think that maybe it's more of a thing of where once we actually get to meet Sukeroku, then maybe you'll see what I meant by that. Because I think that the reason why I brought that up was because of not the external versus internal part, but actually the way that they seem to be handling the actual presentation of their medium with regards to stories, like that that Yakumo has more formal, or maybe if anything, no, it's more that, like, in this case, since we don't really know Sukeroku, it's like I'm more like Yotaro.
And I am the wise sensei teaching you the road.
Well, no, you've actually got formal training with regards to voice acting and stuff like that. And you've got, like, specific things with regards to your book and then stuff like, with actual more, like, traditional things and stuff like that. And my thing is being the loud blabbermouth and having a lot of bombastic energy that's a bit, like, annoying and shrill and all over the place. But maybe it'll be more of a thing where no one's supposed to be Yotaro. We're supposed to channel.
We're all supposed to be Yotaro.
Well, no, we're supposed to channel Yotaro at specific times, but no one's supposed to be him. No one's supposed to be him. You just bring up his spirit, and you're just like, yes.
You know what would be hilarious?
What's
is
that?
If we found out that despite how they look, Sukeroku is actually older than Yakumo.
Well, that's. Like, there's nothing to say that he isn't.
No, I know. It's completely irrelevant. It was strictly for the sake of the joke of, anyways.
Oh.
Two brothers and,
Right, yeah. I wasn't even thinking about that either. Yeah. The Sukeroku bit is something where, it was a while ago. Like, like, how long was it? How long ago was it when he died?
Well, so Konatsu was there, but she doesn't remember very clearly.
Yeah, exactly.
Could be because of the trauma of the event, or because, more likely,
it was a long time
she
ago.
was very young.
Right.
Yeah.
So my thing is that I think it was a long time ago, and the last images they have of him are when he was at a younger, more, vibrant look, just because
Yeah.
That's how long ago it was.
Although I do get the feeling that Yakumo probably was more stressed out in general than Tsukuroku, which is probably why in the flashbacks, like, he still had those, like what was it, like the creases under his eyes, or like the general, like, lines to his face, you know?
I didn't notice those.
No.
Okay.
I gotta say, though, I'm really glad with what they have done with Konatsu so far, because they quickly established her relation to the other characters, right? You know, since they first strongly established the master-student relationship, right? And then they brought her into things, and, you know, since there's only 3 main characters that are alive, really, you know, unless the boss ends up being a main character, or the chauffeur, you know,
the driver's going to be a main character as far as I'm concerned.
The driver is going to be a main character in here.
Yes, in our Kokoros, yes.
But maybe not as much in the
but
show.
Not really in the show, yeah.
So the way they gave her a strong emotional reason for being here and what's going on, conflict and area for growth, even though it might not be as, like, straightforward, I feel like, because she's got to come to terms with the fact that there's a lot of bitter feelings towards Yakumo, but then also what she's going to do as far as Rakugo and you know.
I think her growth is really straightforward.
Oh, yeah?
We mentioned it earlier in the discussion, or at least we mentioned that it would be really straightforward. That her emotional growth is regarding her bitterness. Her emotional growth is that she's stuck in the past and she's not moving forward. So all she needs to do is move forward. What that looks like is, of course, anyone's guess, but but it's an aspect of moving forward, whereas none of the other characters have that problem. Like Yakumo, if anything, he needs to tap into the past to bring it to the future.
Okay,
like, because he's the teacher, he's the old mentor. None of the others have that strong connection to the past. So if anything, they're going to be seeking him and being like, teacher, give us the good wisdom of the ancient ages, pass it on to us so that we can carry the torch of Rakugo into the future in our own separate ways, obviously. Yeah. But her character journey is definitely going to be one of moving forward. You know?
Oh, definitely. And yeah. I wholeheartedly agree. And that's I would say where it will be simple, where it will be straightforward. But one of the things that they've done so far with these characters, just in the first episode, even though it's a, you know, double length there, is that they made it so that they had all the idiosyncrasies and, you know, and imperfections and flaws and things like that, so that it wasn't just what their plot conflict arc is, if that makes sense. Like there's more of who they are as people and kind of their own, to use Rakugo as an example, if their character arc is the specific, you know, script of their story, there's going to be their own spin that they put on it, right? There's the fact that she has to overcome the bitterness and things like that, but I get the feeling,
but that's character. That's not a plot thing necessarily, as much as
okay. But I get the feeling that basically that's not going to be it, right? That's going to be maybe the most important and pressing thing, but there's going to be a whole lot more to it, and I feel like they've seeded that here, even if I don't necessarily understand what it will be, and I'm excited to see what that ends up being.
Yeah, obviously, like, an arc involves going from the beginning all the way to the end, but, like, if any of us could actually predict what the final ending bit is of the arc, I would be blown away. I'm just saying that in the terms of where her growth is as a character, it's going to be surrounding her emotional handling of the, you know, father's death, but then also relating that in how she handles the people immediate to her. So that involves, you know, moving forward and then having that emotional journey not, or in a positive way, let's not have it be a negative, in a positive way, have that be something that brings something good to those around her and to herself. So maybe I haven't been able to separate the plot problems from the character problems, because I don't see the separation.
And I mean, really. I'm using a lot of sort of general, you know, just terms to try and communicate what I'm trying to communicate. But yeah, basically just the stuff that goes beyond simply the resolving the bitterness, right? Because that's not what her character's going to be. That's not all that she's going to be.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying that where her direction is pretty straightforward. So
sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The other characters, we've kind of given them good covering time here. We have to kind of wait and see. They seem to be, with regards to the direction for the overall just plot, they seem to be doing a backstory flashback thing for the next episode.
Right.
So that's exciting. I don't know how much of the episode they would want to cover with a backstory, but if it's a lot of it, then
probably going to be a good one.
Then that means there's a lot more weight put on the past in this type of a story than there would be in general, because a lot of stories will do flashbacks, sometimes only at the beginning, because they need to establish the overall context for the present.
Yeah.
But the idea is that if this is something they're doing so early for a character-driven story, like Rakugo is the title of the show, but as far as, where the overall conflict is, it's not if they're going to win the next Rakugo match. It's a story about them just being people that do Rakugo. So having backstory surrounding a person that isn't even the primary introductory character here, and someone that died, just shows their influence on the present being a lot stronger, specifically as Sukiroku, than I would have thought. Especially the more of that episode that they give to that backstory. So
right, yeah.
And the little teaser bit at the end did seem to give a lot of the teaser just to younger Sukeroku and Yakumo, which I
say nothing of what they were before Sukeroku died. Right before.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing, which might not even get covered. Mm-hmm. So Rakugo season 1. We're
Here
into it. There's going to be 25 episodes of this, so not super long of a show even. But yeah, thanks for recommending this one to us.
Yes.
This is a show that I don't think most reaction channels would do in general. No. So
the fact that it took this long to win a poll
makes sense. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But as far as discussions could go, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, I'm really glad that they didn't make the main character come from just a sort of simple vanilla background of, oh yeah, I've just, ever since I was a kid, like that could still work just fine. But the fact that it's no, he was in prison. It's okay, cool. That adds a bit more context and flavor, and makes me more excited to go into the intricacies of each of these characters as individuals.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, his energy was a little off-putting in the beginning. I'm wait, why is Hinata in this, kind of slower paced, mature kind of show?
And what did he do to get arrested?
Well, it's obvious he was a thief. He stole something. That's why he brought up the thief story.
Well, right. But it's, we've got a chipper person in this drama, in this serious drama, and not only that, a chipper thief is going into this serious drama as the main character.
Yeah, I think his problem was that he talked too much.
Probably.
He said something that screwed him up, or screwed him over. Probably in his thievery or in his criminal work, and
definitely could be.
Yeah, we have probably a lot more to get into these characters in future stuff, but we're going to save that for the next episode's reactions and discussions. So if you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get on early access there. You can watch full-length reactions there. And all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us about these stories, about anime in general. You can get involved with the community there. There's a huge group of them there that are really passionate about this show, Rakugo. And you can also talk with Jacob about the book he wrote.
Yes, I know, your first time hearing about it. But my sci-fi novel, Battle Lines, still available for pre-order on Amazon. Links in the description below. Go check it out. Check out the reviews. Leave your own review.
So if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.